Okay. Ever wonder how your favorite restaurant or local cafe always seem to serve the picture-perfect cheesecake? Ever try to make your favorite cheesecake recipe at home, but your cheesecake falls apart in the oven? Well, I'm here to tell you that the secret to the perfect cheesecake is a flat crust, a smooth cream cheese filling, and absolutely no cracks on the top. So, with your favorite cheesecake recipe in mind, the first step to making the perfect cheesecake is to prepare the right foundation with the flat crust. So, most cheesecake recipe for the crust they require Graham crackers, butter, and sugar. So, prepare the flat crust using a food processor. That will prevent from any big cookie chunks to end up in your crust. You also want to use perfect cookie crumbs to melted butter ratio. That means that for every 1.5 cups of cookie crumbs, you should use a half a cup of melted butter. Then you want to pre-bake your crust for 7 to 8 minutes to harden it, and it will prevent it from falling apart when you cut the cake. So now that we have a solid foundation, we want to move on to the next step. Now the second step, and perhaps the most important step of the perfect cheesecake, is to have a smooth cream cheese filling. You want to use a food processor to do this and not an electric mixer, because the food processor mixes all the ingredients perfectly together and it doesn't leave any cream cheese chunks or unmixed eggs behind. You also want to use cream cheese to egg ratio. Now the cream cheese to egg ratio is 1:1. So that means for every 3 8-ounce packages of cream cheese, you want to use 3 eggs. Now we come to the hardest and the most challenging part of creating the perfect cheesecake. Finally, to create the perfect looking cheesecake, you want to prevent your cheesecake from cracking at the top in the baking process. Now, every cheesecake recipe tells you to bake your cheesecake in a water bath. But to do this, you want to line your cake pan with 2 sheets of aluminum foil and put your cake pan in a roasting pan. So boil two cups of water and fill the roasting pan up to halfway up the cake pan. Your oven temperature should also be low and slow. So you want to bake your cheesecake at 325 degrees instead of the traditional 350 degrees for an hour and 20 minutes or until no longer wiggly at the center. You also want to cool the cheesecake inside the oven. So once the timer goes off and your cheesecake is done, just turn the oven off, open the door crack, stick a wooden spoon in it, and leave the door slightly ajar to let air in the oven and cool the cheesecake inside the oven. That will prevent it from the cheesecake in the cooling process to crack. So these tips from personal experience in trial and error have all helped me create the perfect cheesecake. But practice really does make practice really does make perfect in this case, because the process doesn't happen overnight. So the next time you want to make your favorite cheesecake recipe, just remember that the secret to the perfect cheesecake is a flat crust, a smooth cream cheese filling, and no cracks at the top. So follow these steps and you just might make the picture perfect cheesecake every time.